More terror raids, this time in Melbourne yesterday. Police arrested 5 men, associates of Nouman Haider, the Afghan-born Islamic State supporter who last year stabbed 2 police before he was shot dead. At least 2 of his associates are accused of planning their own attack on police using knives or swords on Anzac Day.
It's alleged both men were undertaking preparations for a terrorist attack at an Anzac Day activity in Melbourne.
People should turn up at Anzac Day events in the largest possible numbers. And the best thing you can do in the face of those who would do us harm is live your life normally.
Joining me are John Roscombe, Head of the Institute of Public Affairs, and Sean Kelly, former media advisor to Labor Prime Minister Julia Gillard and now politics editor of The Monthly. Sean, we've got allegedly more young Muslims, not just at war with our police, but our ultimate symbol of nationhood, Anzac Day. Am I wrong to believe our political class has sort of let us down over the years with immigration refugee policies that have exposed us to this increased risk?
Andrew, the Islamic population in Australia, I mean, let's get some facts on the table. 99.9% of Islamic people in Australia have nothing to do with ISIS. Now, that's not a rhetorical exaggeration. 99.9%. That is an actual statistical fact. 99.9% have nothing to do with ISIS.
Is that 1%? So we're talking 400 ASIO investigations underway right now.
It is taking those numbers into account, Andrew.
100 passports taken, 200 or up to 200 that are actually serving with these groups, and plus supporters, and 200 taken off. That's a lot of people, don't you think?
It's a very tiny proportion of the overall Islamic population in this country.
And Andrew, one is true.
Andrew, every time that you try to tarnish an entire community with the actions you do, with the actions of a tiny few, and that's exactly what you're doing right now by suggesting that there is a problem with Islamic immigration in this country. Every time that happens, you are stoking fear and division, and that is exactly what the terrorists want.
Don't you think stoking fear and division is having a plot to kill people?
I absolutely do, but absolutely do. That the smart reaction to that isn't to blame an entire community. One of the people arrested last night was an Australian, was somebody who had been born in Australia and back many generations, many generations.
And the other 4?
And his great-grandfather was a Christian preacher who has an MBE. So it's not a simple problem that can be solved by simply limiting immigration. That is a blunt move that will in fact stoke the division that we should be trying to end.
So more immigration from the Middle East?
Well, that's a separate question, but the fact that this is a tiny proportion of people involved, which is true, doesn't help us. There is still a real risk. And the problem that we have is, rather than saying, come to Australia, be part of Australia, integrate and assimilate, Andrew, you're dead right, the political class have said, it's OK to be separate, it's OK to be different, and when we have real risks, we don't talk about how we accomplish unity, we talk about, don't demonise a group. That's not the way.
The thing is, Sean, I've always said it's a tiny minority, but the point is, we've got almost as many Buddhists in this country as we've got Muslims, and I don't see any ASIO investigation into Buddhists. I don't see any Buddhist terrorist plots. I don't see Buddhists signing up in their hundreds to go and fight overseas.
But Andrew, you don't just talk about Islamic people who want to commit terrorist attacks. On your blog, you regularly talk about Islamic people who commit assaults.
Can you go back to...
No, I've made this point.
No, go back to my comparison. Buddhists.
No, I am. I'm getting to that exact point. If you want to take a particular class that commits crime at a greater rate than Australian-born people, then look at New Zealanders. They commit crime at a rate 1.5 times Australians. But I have never seen you say that New Zealanders should be banned from immigrating to this country. If you're going to apply these broad accusations against one section of the community, then do it to everyone that commits more crime than most Australians.
Happy to. Can you go back to my comparison, Buddhists versus Muslims?
Andrew, my comparison with New Zealanders is as arbitrary as your comparison with Buddhists.
So you're not going to address it?
I just have addressed it. I've addressed it by analogy.
I just think there is a comparison.
That's argumentation, Andrew.
So, all right, maybe it's just us. Foreign Minister Julie Bishop, now, in the ad break, you said I was too tough on her for going to Iran wearing a headdress. And some Iranian human rights campaigners have said she should not have.
Andrew, I think you were. Julie Bishop has gone to Iran to seek their cooperation. That's the reality. And she has to be understanding of that. We need a favour from them. But what happens in Iran is women are subjugated. The hijab is compulsory. The situation of women in Iran is as bad as anywhere in the world. Iran hangs homosexuals. Iran is a totalitarian state. But if you are the foreign minister going to a totalitarian state, not wearing a hat, not wearing a hijab is unlikely to get the cooperation that we now need from Iran.
Yeah, but let's go further. Is being a woman foreign minister going to Iran asking for favours likely to get you anything? That's the problem, isn't it?
Well, yes. Well, I think we're all in agreement that there is a problem with the way that women are treated in some parts of the world. Absolutely. I don't disagree with anything John just said.
Bill Shorten still opposes boat turnbacks, turning boats back to Indonesia, which the Abu government has proved does work. Now, I was reminded of that when Italy this week had more than 8,000 illegal immigrants sail over from Africa in just 4 days, and another 400 drowned. Another 500,000 people in Libya said to want to come over. Can Europe stop these boats, this armada, without adopting the kind of policies that the Abu government has put in?
Well, the sad truth is that in the past couple of years, you've seen a huge transition from Libya as a transit country for asylum seekers in that region, excuse me, to a country where residents of Libya are fleeing. And they're fleeing because they're scared of kidnappings in Libya, they're scared of beatings in Libya, and they're scared of killings in Libya. The only way you're actually going to address the huge influx of asylum seekers from Libya at this point is by peace-building initiatives in Libya. It's not easy, it won't be an immediate solve, but it is the only thing that can be done.
Remember our last peace-building initiative that Australia cheered, Kevin Rudd cheered, and Obama initiated, which was removing the Gaddafi regime, turned Libya into exactly what people are now fleeing.
These things are incredibly complex, Andrew. I'm not pretending otherwise.
Well, I just wonder, this is a point, though. I think the future will rely in more peacekeeping initiatives overseas so that people don't flee the countries that are turned into hellholes. So we're sending 300 soldiers to Iraq to train Iraqi soldiers. We really should get more involved in the fighting, shouldn't we, instead of just training? Because we just see Ramadi now, people fleeing Ramadi, Islamic State's taking that over.
Andrew, I think we should. And the tragedy is the Obama administration, the US government, has completely failed in this area. They need to take the lead. We were talking about Libya. The Libyan policy was a fundamental disaster. Obama is walking away from world leadership, and Australia, Europe, countries are going to have to pick up that slack. And if you were to ask me, I think Australians should be going into Nigeria and getting the girls back. You can do one thing, you can hold up a sign. There's nothing cheaper than that. We can get those girls back.
To be very blunt, though, our national interest is in stopping, in one part of it is stopping refugees coming here.
No, look,
and we're not getting Nigerian refugees, so...
No, it absolutely is, but...
That's being very blunt.
But as a civilised, Western developed country, we have a humanitarian responsibility as well.
That's it, right? You know, you're right. Sending people over, our people over to help peace building or whatever you want to call it is important. Is it important that the Defence Minister then at least knows the name of the leader of the forces we are fighting? Have a look at his stumble this week.
So, sorry, just to be clear, who is the leader and what is the focus on his capture?
Well, I'm not going to go into operational matters, obviously, Lee.
Well, can you name the leader of IS?
I'm not going to go into operational matters, but
I don't think that's operational. I think it's a matter of public record.
Is that significant that he doesn't know the leader? Just a brain freeze.
Oh, look, I think these things are complicated. I'm not a big fan of pop quizzes by the media in general. I think they don't get at a minister's underlying capability, whether they're actually across their portfolio. However, there is an argument that if we have just sent 300 troops over to Iraq to help fight an enemy, that the Defence Minister, who's been crucial in making that decision, should have those facts absolutely at his fingertips, because this should be his bread and butter day and night. Now, the truth is, gotcha moments like that only ever matter if they reflect an underlying truth about the minister. If Kevin Andrews ends up being competent, then it won't matter for him. If he ends up fumbling, if this ends up being his last pit stop on his way to retirement, then this could well end up hurting him and overshadowing his reputation.
Well, what I find funny is that not even the New Zealand Prime Minister knows the name either of al-Baghdadi. Have a listen, and they're sending forces too.
Look, I'll get it wrong if I actually name his name. It's al-Jabir or something, but whatever.
Al-Shabiri? Well, shoot someone or other. Coming up, Tony Abbott makes the strangest friends at the Premier's meeting.